Daddy. I recorded everything. The billionaire blamed the maid until the toy exposed his fiancée. The crystal chandelier cast dancing shadows across the marble floor of the Ashworth mansion as Elena Martinez clutched her daughter's small hand, her heart pounding so hard she thought it might shatter her ribs. 3-year-old Sophia looked up at her mother with wide, confused eyes, her beloved teddy bear, the one with the hidden camera her uncle had given her for safety, tucked under her tiny arm. "I want to see the footage," Marcus Ashworth said, his voice tight with barely controlled fury. At 33, he was the youngest self-made billionaire in the tech industry, known for his sharp mind and sharper business instincts. Right now, those steel-gray eyes were fixed on Elena with an expression that made her want to disappear into the floor. "Marcus, darling, surely you don't need to humiliate the poor woman further." Victoria Sterling purred from her position on the cream leather sofa. At 29, she was the picture of elegance in her designer dress, her perfectly manicured nails drumming against the armrest. "She's already admitted to taking it. Just fire her and be done with it." Elena's throat constricted. "Mr. Ashworth, I swear on my daughter's life, I didn't take your mother's bracelet. I would never." "Then where is it?" Marcus cut her off, running his hand through his dark hair. The antique diamond bracelet, a family heirloom worth over $200,000, had vanished from his mother's jewelry box 3 days ago. The only people with access to his mother's private suite were himself, Victoria, and Elena, who cleaned the room daily. "I don't know," Elena whispered, tears streaming down her face. She'd worked for the Ashworth family for 2 years, ever since she'd fled her abusive ex-husband with nothing but Sophia and a desperate need for safety. Marcus had been kind to her, generous even, paying her double the going rate when he learned she was raising Sophia alone. This job wasn't just employment, it was their lifeline. Sophia tugged on her mother's uniform. "Mommy, don't cry," she said in her sweet, lisping voice. "Mr. Marcus is nice. He gives me cookies." Marcus's expression softened slightly at the child's words, but Victoria was quick to interject. "Marcus, your mother arrives tomorrow for the engagement party. How will you explain that her precious bracelet, the one she specifically wanted me to wear, is missing? Stolen by the help." "I didn't steal it." Elena's voice broke. "Please, Mr. Ashworth. I've never taken anything. You know me. You know I wouldn't." "I thought I knew you," Marcus said quietly, and those words hurt more than any accusation. "But Victoria saw you coming out of my mother's suite at midnight last Tuesday. You claimed you were doing extra cleaning, but the bracelet went missing the next morning." Elena's mind raced. She had been in Mrs. Ashworth's suite that night, but only because she'd heard strange noises and wanted to make sure everything was secure. She'd mentioned it to Victoria the next morning, and the woman had laughed it off, saying it was probably just the old house settling. Now that innocent explanation was being used against her. "Please," Elena begged, sinking to her knees. Sophia immediately wrapped her small arms around her mother's neck, her teddy bear squished between them. "I have nowhere else to go. Sophia needs stability, needs a home. I'll do anything to prove my innocence." Victoria stood, smoothing her dress. "Marcus, this is absurd. The woman is a thief. Call the police and let them handle it." "No," Elena cried out. "A criminal record will destroy any chance I have of finding work, of keeping custody of my daughter. Please, Mr. Ashworth, give me a chance to prove myself." Marcus looked at the woman who'd been part of his household for 2 years, who'd made his coffee exactly how he liked it every morning, who'd left thoughtful notes reminding him to eat when he worked too late. He looked at the small child who'd drawn him crayon pictures and left them on his desk with sticky notes that said, "For Mr. Marcus," in her mother's handwriting. Then he looked at Victoria, his fiancée of 6 months, the woman he'd planned to marry next spring. "1 week," he said finally. "You have 1 week to prove your innocence, Elena. But you're suspended without pay, and you're not to enter my mother's suite under any circumstances. If the bracelet isn't found by the time my mother leaves after the engagement party, I'm calling the police." Victoria's eyes flashed with something Elena couldn't quite identify, but it was gone in an instant, replaced by a look of resigned acceptance. "You're too soft, darling. But if this is what you want." Thank you, Elena sobbed, clutching Sophia tighter. Thank you, Mr. Ashworth. I won't let you down. As Elena fled to the small cottage on the property that served as her home, Sophia whispered into her mother's hair. Mommy, Mr. Teddy saw something. He told me. Elena pulled back, looking at her daughter's serious little face. What do you mean, baby? Sophia held up the teddy bear, pointing to the small camera lens hidden in its button eye. Uncle Rico said Mr. Teddy keeps me safe. He sees everything in my room. But I brought him to the big house to play last Tuesday. He was in the pretty lady's room. Elena's heart stopped. The bear. The camera. Last Tuesday. With trembling hands, she pulled out her phone and texted her brother Rico, a security specialist who'd installed the camera after Elena's ex had tried to take Sophia. Rico had taught her how to access the footage remotely, though she'd never needed to use it. Until now. As the footage loaded on her phone screen, Elena watched through tears as the timestamp showed last Tuesday at 11:47 p.m. The bear sat on a chair in Mrs. Ashworth's suite, where Sophia must have left it during one of her supervised play sessions. And there, clear as day, was Victoria Sterling, slipping into the room, opening the jewelry box, and pocketing the diamond bracelet. Elena's hands shook. She had proof. She had evidence that would clear her name. But as she looked at her daughter's innocent face, at the mansion where Marcus was probably even now being consoled by the woman who'd framed her, Elena knew that showing this footage would unleash something far bigger than a simple theft case. It would destroy Marcus's engagement, shatter his trust, and expose the woman he loved as a calculating liar. The question was, would he believe a maid over his fiancée? The next morning, Elena stood outside Marcus's home office, the teddy bear clutched in her arms like a shield. She'd spent all night watching the footage, making sure she wasn't mistaken, copying it to 3 different locations. Sophia was with Rico, safe and away from whatever storm was about to break. Her hand trembled as she knocked. Come in, Marcus's voice called out, distracted. He sat behind his massive desk, laptop open, looking exhausted. He'd probably been up all night working, the way he always did when stressed. Elena had learned his patterns over 2 years, how he ran his hands through his hair when frustrated, how he paced when thinking, how he barely ate when worried. Elena. He looked up, surprised. I thought I told you. I have proof, she interrupted, setting the teddy bear on his desk. Proof that I didn't take the bracelet. But before I show you, I need you to promise me something. Marcus leaned back in his chair, studying her. You're not exactly in a position to make demands. Please. Elena's voice cracked. Just promise me you'll watch the entire video before you react. All of it. No matter what you see. Something in her tone made him pause. What kind of proof? My brother gave Sophia a nanny cam for safety reasons. After her father. Elena couldn't meet his eyes. She'd never told Marcus the full story of her marriage, of the bruises she'd hidden, of the night she'd finally run. Sophia left the bear in your mother's suite last Tuesday. It recorded everything. Marcus's expression shifted from skeptical to cautiously interested. Show me. Elena pulled out her phone, connected it to his laptop, and pulled up the footage. Then she stepped back, wrapping her arms around herself as she watched Marcus's face. The video started at 11:43 p.m. The suite was dark except for moonlight streaming through the windows. For several minutes, nothing happened. Elena saw Marcus's finger move toward the fast-forward button. Wait, she whispered. Just wait. At 11:47, a figure slipped into the room. The moonlight caught Victoria's distinctive blonde hair, her silk robe. Marcus leaned forward, his entire body tensing. On screen, Victoria moved with practiced ease to the jewelry box. She knew exactly where it was, didn't fumble or search. She opened it, removed the bracelet, and examined it in the moonlight with a small, satisfied smile. Then she tucked it into her robe pocket and left. The timestamp showed 11:49 p.m. 2 minutes that shattered everything. Marcus sat frozen, his face drained of color. For a long moment, he said nothing, just stared at the paused screen showing Victoria's retreating form. I'm sorry, Elena whispered, and she meant it. Whatever Victoria's crimes, Marcus was a good man who didn't deserve this betrayal. How long have you had this? His voice was hollow. I only found it last night. Sophia told me about the bear after the accusation. Elena took a shaky breath. I'm not showing you this for revenge, Mr. Ashworth. I'm showing you because I have a daughter to protect, and I can't have a theft on my record. But I am genuinely sorry. I know you love her. Marcus laughed, a bitter sound that made Elena flinch. Do I? Or did I love who I thought she was? He played the footage again, watching Victoria's confident movements. She knew exactly where to look. She's been in my mother's suite before. What will you do? Elena asked quietly. I don't know. Marcus stood abruptly, pacing to the window. Outside, the morning sun sparkled off the pool where Sophia loved to watch the water. My mother arrives this afternoon. The engagement party is tomorrow night. 200 guests. The merger with a sterling family business was supposed to be announced. He stopped. The merger. Elena saw understanding dawn on his face. Her father's company is drowning in debt, Marcus said slowly. I was going to inject capital after the wedding. She needed this marriage. He turned to Elena, his eyes haunted. Was any of it real? Before Elena could answer, the office door burst open. Victoria stood there in a designer tracksuit, perfectly made up despite the early hour. Her eyes went immediately to the teddy bear on the desk, then to Elena's phone, still connected to the laptop. What's going on? She asked, but her voice had lost its usual smoothness. I was just showing Mr. Ashworth something Sophia recorded, Elena said quietly. Victoria's face paled. Marcus, whatever she's told you. I watched you take it, Victoria. Marcus's voice was ice. Tuesday night, 11:47 p.m. You walked into my mother's suite, opened her jewelry box, and stole her bracelet. That's absurd. Victoria moved toward the desk, but Marcus held up a hand. Don't. I have the footage. Time-stamped, clear as day. Victoria's expression cycled through shock, denial, and then, finally, calculation. So what? So, I borrowed a bracelet. I was going to wear it at the engagement party, surprise your mother by showing how much I treasured her family heirlooms. I was going to return it afterward. Then, why did you let me accuse Elena? Marcus's voice dropped to a dangerous quiet. Why did you push me to fire her, to call the police? You were going to let an innocent woman take the fall for your borrowing. She's just the help. Victoria snapped, and there it was, the mask slipping. My God, Marcus. Are you really going to believe some maid over me? Your fiancé. Elena felt the words like a slap, but she stood her ground. She'd been called worse by better people. The maid has video evidence, Marcus said coldly. What do you have? Lies and manipulation. Victoria's eyes narrowed. I have 6 months of our relationship. I have your ring on my finger. I have 200 guests arriving for our engagement party tomorrow. You think you can just humiliate me? Humiliate yourself? Think about what this will do to your reputation, Marcus. Think about what people will say. I'm thinking about what I almost did to an innocent woman because I trusted you. Marcus moved to his desk, gently picking up the teddy bear. This bear, this cheap toy that probably cost $20, has more integrity than you ever did. You're going to regret this, Victoria hissed. My father will pull out of the merger. You'll lose millions. I'll make it back. Marcus looked at her with something like pity. Money I can replace. Integrity? That's harder. Victoria grabbed her purse, her hands shaking with rage. Fine. But you better believe everyone will hear my side of the story. That little maid and her brat seduced you. Finish that sentence, and I'll add slander to the theft charges I'm filing. Marcus cut her off, his voice deadly quiet. For a moment, Victoria looked like she might argue. Then she spun on her designer heels and stormed out, leaving only the scent of her expensive perfume and the wreckage of Marcus's trust. In the silence that followed, Elena and Marcus stood on opposite sides of the desk, the teddy bear between them like a small, furry mediator. I'm sorry, Elena said again. Stop apologizing. Marcus sank into his chair, suddenly looking every one of his 33 years. You saved yourself. You protected your daughter. That's not something to apologize for. He looked up at her. I'm the one who owes you an apology. I should have trusted you. I should have investigated more thoroughly before I accused you. You were in love, Elena said softly. Love makes us blind sometimes. Apparently. Marcus was quiet for a moment. My mother's going to have a field day with this. She never liked Victoria. Said she was too polished, too perfect. He laughed weakly. Turns out, Mother knows best. What will you tell the guests? Elena asked. About tomorrow? The truth, Marcus said firmly. That the engagement is off due to irreconcilable differences in character. Let them speculate. I'll survive gossip. He looked at Elena. But you're reinstated immediately. With back pay. And a raise. Mr. Ashworth, you don't have to. Call me Marcus. And yes, I do. You've been loyal, honest, and hardworking for 2 years. That's worth far more than any bracelet. He stood, extending his hand. Thank you, Elena, for having the courage to show me the truth, even when it hurt. Elena took his hand, feeling the calluses that came from his secret hobby of woodworking, something she only knew because she'd cleaned his workshop. Thank you for believing me. As she turned to leave, Marcus called out, Elena, tell Sophia that Mr. Teddy is a hero. And tell your brother he makes excellent nanny cams. For the first time in days, Elena smiled. I will. The cancellation notices went out by noon. Marcus personally called the most important guests, explaining with admirable composure that the engagement was off. The gossip mills immediately went into overdrive, but Marcus refused to elaborate beyond personal differences. Victoria, meanwhile, had gone scorched earth on social media, posting cryptic messages about betrayal and gold diggers, though she was careful never to mention Elena by name. Her father called Marcus 3 times, offering everything from money to emotional appeals to threats. Marcus declined all of it and had his lawyers draft a statement detailing Victoria's theft, to be released if the slander continued. The messages stopped. Elena watched all of this from the periphery, trying to stay invisible while doing her job. Mrs. Ashworth arrived that afternoon, a formidable woman of 60 with sharp eyes and an even sharper tongue. She took one look at her son's haggard face, demanded the full story, and promptly declared that she'd never trusted that sterling girl anyway. Mother, you said you thought she was lovely, Marcus protested weakly. I lied. She held her fork wrong. Mrs. Ashworth settled into her favorite chair in the library. Now, where is this brave young woman and her daughter? I want to meet them properly. Which was how Elena found herself sitting in the Ashworth library at 4 p.m., Sophia on her lap, facing Marcus's intimidating mother, while Marcus looked on with amusement. So you're the maid my son nearly destroyed over a bracelet I honestly never liked anyway, Mrs. Ashworth said, studying Elena with unnerving intensity. Mother, Marcus protested. What? It's true. Your father gave me that gaudy thing for our 10th anniversary. I always thought it was ostentatious. She turned back to Elena. But it has sentimental value, I suppose. Where is it now? Victoria's apartment, Marcus said. The police retrieved it this morning. She's been charged with theft and filing a false report. Good. Mrs. Ashworth's attention shifted to Sophia, who was clutching Mr. Teddy and staring at the older woman with wide eyes. And this is the little detective? Sophia nodded solemnly. Mr. Teddy saw the pretty lady take your bracelet. I told Mommy. Did you now? Mrs. Ashworth's stern face softened. You're a very smart little girl. And very brave to speak up when your mother needed you. Mommy always says telling the truth is important, Sophia said seriously. Even when it's scary. Mrs. Ashworth looked at Elena with newfound respect. You're raising her right. That's rare these days. She paused. Marcus tells me you've been with us for 2 years. Why haven't I met you properly before? I try to stay out of the way, ma'am, Elena said quietly. I'm just here to do my job. Nonsense. You're here because my son values you, which means I value you. Mrs. Ashworth leaned forward. Tell me about yourself. Not the maid version. The real you. Elena hesitated, and used to being seen as anything more than staff. But something in Mrs. Ashworth's eyes, a genuine interest, made her speak. "I'm from a small town in Texas originally," Elena began. "I was studying to be a teacher when I met Sophia's father. He was charming, successful. I thought I was lucky." She felt Sophia's small hand squeeze hers. "Turns out I wasn't. But I got Sophia out of it, so I can't regret everything." "Your ex-husband was abusive," Mrs. Ashworth said bluntly. Elena blinked in surprise. "How did you?" "I've lived 60 years, girl. I know the look in a woman's eyes when she's survived something terrible." Mrs. Ashworth's voice gentled. "You're safe here. You know that, don't you?" To her horror, Elena felt tears welling up. In 2 years, no one had asked her that. No one had cared to look beyond the uniform and see the woman underneath. "I do now," Elena whispered. Marcus, who'd been quiet, spoke up. "Mother, I was thinking. The engagement party is cancelled, but we still have all that food, the orchestra, the decorations. What if we threw a different kind of party?" Mrs. Ashworth raised an eyebrow. "What did you have in mind?" "A celebration. Not of an engagement, but of integrity, of truth." Marcus looked at Elena. "Elena saved me from making the biggest mistake of my life. That's worth celebrating." "Absolutely not," Elena said immediately. "Mr. Ashworth, Marcus, I appreciate the thought, but I don't need a party. I just need my job." "You have your job," Marcus said. "This isn't about need. It's about what's right." He turned to his mother. "What do you think?" Mrs. Ashworth was quiet for a long moment, studying both of them. Then she smiled, a real smile that transformed her severe face. "I think it's a wonderful idea. But let's make it even better. Let's throw a party for all the staff, the people who keep this house running, who we often take for granted. Elena can be the guest of honor, but everyone should be celebrated." Elena's throat tightened. "Mrs. Ashworth, that's incredibly kind, but—" "No buts. It's decided." The older woman stood. "Sophia, would you like to help me pick out a dress to wear? I think this party calls for something cheerful." Sophia looked at her mother, who nodded through her tears. "Yes, please." As Mrs. Ashworth and Sophia left the library, hand in hand, Marcus moved to sit across from Elena. "You don't have to do this," Elena said quietly. "I don't need recognition. I just need to keep my daughter safe and fed." "I know you don't need it," Marcus said. "But maybe you deserve it anyway. When's the last time someone celebrated you, Elena? Not what you do for them, but who you are?" Elena couldn't answer. She honestly couldn't remember. "That's what I thought," Marcus said softly. "One party. Let us thank the people who make our lives work. Let us acknowledge that you showed incredible courage. And let my mother fuss over Sophia, because I haven't seen her that happy in years." "Why are you being so kind to me?" Elena asked, the question that had been burning in her chest. Marcus was quiet for a moment. "Because kindness costs me nothing and might mean everything to you. Because you reminded me what integrity looks like. Because my father always taught me that how you treat people when they're vulnerable says everything about your character." He smiled sadly. "And because I'm realizing I've been sleepwalking through my life, surrounding myself with people who want something from me rather than people who see me. You've never wanted anything but a fair chance to work." "I want more than that now," Elena admitted. "I want Sophia to grow up knowing that good people exist. That doing the right thing matters. You've shown her that." "Then let me show her one more thing," Marcus said. "Let me show her that when someone does the right thing, it's recognized and celebrated. That heroism doesn't always look like superheroes and capes. Sometimes it looks like a mother protecting her daughter and a toy bear in the right place at the right time." Elena laughed through her tears. "When you put it that way, is that a yes?" "It's a yes." The transformation of the Ashworth mansion over the next 24 hours was nothing short of miraculous. What had been planned as an elegant engagement party became something far more meaningful, a celebration of the people who made the household run. Elena watched in amazement as Marcus personally invited every member of his staff, the gardeners who maintained the grounds, the cook who'd been with the family for 15 years, the part-time bookkeeper, the security team, even the teenage son of the groundskeeper who mowed the lawn on weekends. Everyone who contributes gets celebrated, Marcus insisted when Elena protested that it was too much. This is long overdue. Mrs. Ashworth threw herself into the preparations with the enthusiasm of a general planning a campaign. She insisted on personally selecting an outfit for Elena, a simple but elegant blue dress that made Elena feel beautiful for the first time in years. "None of that," Mrs. Ashworth said when Elena tried to refuse. "You're the guest of honor. You'll dress the part." Sophia became the older woman's shadow, chattering constantly about Mr. Teddy and her mother and everything she'd seen in the big house. Mrs. Ashworth soaked up every word, her stern demeanor melting around the 3-year-old's infectious enthusiasm. "She reminds me of Marcus at that age," Mrs. Ashworth confided to Elena as they watched Sophia play in the garden. "Curious about everything, honest to a fault, brave beyond her years." "Marcus was brave as a child?" Elena asked, smiling. "Terribly. Stood up to a bully twice his size when he was 7 because the boy was picking on a smaller child. Came home with a black eye and a grin." Mrs. Ashworth's eyes were distant with memory. "His father was so proud. Told him that defending those who couldn't defend themselves was the mark of a good man." "He still is," Elena said quietly. "A good man, I mean." Mrs. Ashworth gave her a sharp look. "Yes, he is. Despite my best efforts to spoil him, he turned out rather well." She paused. "You care for my son?" It wasn't a question. Elena felt her cheeks heat. "He's been kind to Sophia and me. I'm grateful." "Gratitude and caring are different things, my dear." Mrs. Ashworth's voice was gentle. "But that's a conversation for another day. Right now, we have a party to prepare for." The evening of the celebration arrived cool and clear. The mansion's ballroom, which had been decorated in Victoria's preferred whites and golds, had been hastily transformed with warm lights and colorful flowers. The orchestra Marcus had hired remained, but he'd asked them to play a more diverse selection of music, everything from classical to contemporary to Latin jazz. "For everyone to enjoy," he explained to Elena. "Not just what's traditionally expected." As the guests began to arrive, staff members in their best clothes, many looking nervous and out of place, Marcus and his mother stood at the entrance, greeting each person warmly. Elena watched from a corner, Sophia's hand in hers, overwhelmed by the surreal nature of it all. Just days ago, she'd been accused of theft, threatened with police and ruin. Now she was wearing a designer dress, her daughter beside her in a princess outfit that Mrs. Ashworth had mysteriously produced, watching her employer host a party in her honor. "Mommy, why are you crying?" Sophia asked, concerned. "Happy tears, baby," Elena whispered, wiping her eyes. "These are happy tears." "Ms. Elena?" A young voice interrupted. It was James, the groundskeeper's son, looking uncomfortable in a borrowed suit. "Mr. Ashworth sent me to get you. He says it's time." Time for what? Elena didn't know, but she followed James into the ballroom, Sophia skipping beside her. The room fell quiet as they entered, dozens of faces turning toward them. Marcus stepped forward, a microphone in his hand. He looked different tonight, lighter somehow, as if a weight had been lifted from his shoulders. He wore a simple dark suit instead of the designer tuxedo he'd planned for the engagement party, and his smile was genuine. "Thank you all for coming," Marcus began, his voice carrying through the room. "I know this party was supposed to be something else, and some of you are probably confused about the sudden change of plans." A ripple of nervous laughter. "But I realized something this week. I realized that I'd been celebrating the wrong things. The wrong people." He looked directly at Elena, and she felt her heart skip. 3 days ago, I made a terrible mistake. I accused someone of theft based on circumstantial evidence and the word of someone I thought I could trust. I was ready to destroy her life, her livelihood, her reputation. All because I was blind to the truth right in front of me. The room was silent now, everyone listening intently. But this woman, Elena Martinez, didn't let my blindness define her. She fought for the truth. With the help of her incredibly smart daughter Sophia and a teddy bear with a hidden camera, she proved her innocence, and exposed a betrayal I never saw coming. Mrs. Ashworth stepped forward, carrying a small box. Elena saved my son from a marriage built on lies. She saved our family's reputation. She showed courage that many people twice her age would struggle to find. She opened the box, revealing the diamond bracelet that had started it all. This bracelet has been in the Ashworth family for 3 generations. My husband gave it to me, his mother gave it to him, and so on. It's supposed to represent family legacy. Elena's eyes widened as Mrs. Ashworth continued. But what kind of legacy is a piece of jewelry compared to the legacy of integrity, of truth, of standing up for what's right even when it's terrifying? She held the box out to Elena. This bracelet is yours now. Not as payment, you can't pay for character, but as a symbol. A reminder that doing the right thing, protecting your child, seeking truth, those are the real family heirlooms worth passing down. I can't accept this, Elena stammered, even as Sophia gasped in delight at the sparkling diamonds. Mrs. Ashworth, this is your family's. And you're part of this family now, the older woman said firmly. If you want to be. Not as staff, though you're welcome to continue working if you wish. But as someone we value, someone we trust, someone who belongs here. Elena looked at the bracelet, then at Mrs. Ashworth's sincere face, then at Marcus, who was watching her with an expression she couldn't quite read. I don't know what to say, she whispered. Say you'll stay, Marcus said quietly, stepping closer. Say you'll let us make amends for how you were treated. Say you'll give us a chance to be the kind of people worthy of your trust. Sophia tugged on her mother's dress. Mommy, can we stay? I like it here. Mrs. Ashworth promised to teach me piano, and Mr. Marcus said I can help him in his workshop. The room held its collective breath as Elena stood there, this young woman who'd survived so much, holding her daughter's hand and faced with an impossible choice. Stay in a world where she'd been a servant, where she'd been accused and nearly destroyed, or take a leap of faith that these people meant what they said. She thought of Sophia, who deserved stability and kindness. She thought of herself, who'd been running for so long she'd forgotten what it felt like to stand still and be safe. She thought of Mrs. Ashworth's gentle firmness and Marcus's genuine remorse. Yes, Elena said, her voice stronger now. We'll stay. The room erupted in applause. Mrs. Ashworth pulled Elena into a hug, whispering, Welcome home, dear girl. Sophia squealed with delight, hugging both of them. And Marcus just smiled, a real smile that reached his eyes and made him look younger, happier, more alive. The party that followed was unlike anything the Ashworth mansion had seen. The orchestra played everything from Beethoven to Fiancée. The cook's famous empanadas were served alongside fancy canapés. Staff members who'd worked together for years, but rarely socialized, danced and laughed and shared stories. James taught Sophia a complicated handshake. Mrs. Ashworth scandalized the security team by asking them to dance. And Elena, wearing her beautiful blue dress and a diamond bracelet worth more than she'd make in 10 years, danced with her daughter and felt something she hadn't felt in a very long time. Hope. Late in the evening, as Sophia dozed on a couch, her precious Mr. Teddy tucked under her arm, Marcus approached Elena on the terrace where she'd stepped out for air. Overwhelming, he asked, offering her a glass of champagne. Completely, Elena admitted, taking it. I keep thinking I'll wake up and find out this was all a dream. If it is, we're having the same one, Marcus said, leaning against the railing beside her. The moonlight cast shadows across his face, making him look almost vulnerable. I owe you an apology that goes beyond what I said in there. You already apologized. Not enough. Marcus turned to face her fully. Elena, I pride myself on reading people. It's how I built my company, how I've succeeded in business. But I completely missed Victoria's true nature. I saw what I wanted to see, someone sophisticated, polished, from the right background. I ignored red flags because she fit into my idea of what my life should look like. You loved her, Elena said gently. Love makes us overlook things. Did I, though? Marcus asked. Or did I love the idea of her? The perfect partner for the perfect life. He laughed bitterly. Turns out, Perfect is just another word for fake. Elena sipped her champagne, choosing her words carefully. My ex-husband seemed perfect too, at first. Charming, successful, attentive. It wasn't until we were married that I saw who he really was. She touched the spot on her arm where a scar hid beneath the sleeve. Sometimes the prettiest packages contain the ugliest contents. How did you escape? Marcus asked quietly.
Badly.
Elena smiled sadly. One night, he came home drunk and angry. He went after me, but Sophia was in the next room. I heard her cry out, and something in me just snapped. I grabbed her and ran. I had nothing, no money, no plan, just my daughter and the clothes on our backs. That's when you came here? Not immediately. We stayed in a shelter for a while. Then my brother helped me get a fake ID and papers. I legally changed our names, moved states, started over. Elena looked at him. When you hired me, you gave me more than a job. You gave me a future. A way to provide for Sophia legally, safely. That's why the accusation hurts so much, not just because it was false, but because I thought I was losing the one good thing I'd managed to build. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. You're the strongest person I've ever met. Elena shook her head. I'm just a mother protecting her child. Any parent would do the same. No, Marcus said firmly. Not every parent. Not every person. You could have let fear win. You could have run again. Instead, you stood your ground and fought for the truth. He paused. That teddy bear, it was your brother's idea? Rico is overprotective. When I told him about the job, about living on someone else's property, he insisted on the camera. Said it was to protect Sophia from strangers. Elena smiled. I never imagined it would protect me too. Remind me to send your brother a very expensive thank you gift, Marcus said. He's responsible for saving us all a lot of heartache. They stood in comfortable silence for a while, watching the stars. From inside, they could hear laughter and music, the sounds of genuine joy. Finally, Elena spoke. What happens now? With Victoria, I mean? She's being prosecuted for the theft. Beyond that. Marcus shrugged. Her father's company will survive or it won't. The merger's definitely off. And Victoria will have to live with the consequences of her choices. Do you think she ever really cared about you? Elena asked. Marcus considered this. Maybe in her way, but not enough to be honest. Not enough to value me over what I could give her. He looked at Elena. That's the difference between you and her, you know. You never wanted anything from me except fairness. That's rarer than you'd think. I'm just the help, Elena said, echoing Victoria's words. You're so much more than that, Marcus said intensely. And if you can't see it yet, I hope you'll stay long enough for us to show you. Before Elena could respond, Sophia appeared in the doorway, rubbing her sleepy eyes. Mommy, I want to go home. Of course, baby. Elena set down her champagne glass and moved toward her daughter. Elena? Marcus called after her. She turned. Welcome home. And as Elena carried Sophia across the grounds to their cottage, the lights of the mansion warm behind them, she realized that for the first time since leaving Texas, she actually felt like she had a home. Not just a place to live, but somewhere she belonged. The weeks following the party brought changes that Elena could never have anticipated. True to her word, Mrs. Ashworth had transformed from the lady of the house into something closer to a grandmother figure for Sophia, teaching her piano, reading her stories, and spoiling her with the kind of attention the little girl had never known. Marcus, meanwhile, had thrown himself into restructuring his household in ways that reflected his renewed values. He increased all staff salaries by 30% and established a comprehensive benefits program including healthcare, retirement plans, and educational assistance. When the cook mentioned that her son wanted to attend culinary school but couldn't afford it, Marcus created a scholarship fund on the spot. Money doesn't mean anything if you're not using it to make people's lives better, he explained to Elena when she expressed amazement at his generosity. My father taught me that. I'd just forgotten. Elena continued her work, though her role gradually evolved. Mrs. Ashworth had declared that Elena was wasted on cleaning, and insisted she take on additional responsibilities, coordinating household schedules, managing vendors, even helping plan social events. It was more responsibility, yes, but it was also more engaging, more valued. "You have excellent organizational skills and good judgment," Mrs. Ashworth said when Elena protested that she wasn't qualified. "Everything else can be learned. Besides, I need someone I trust to help me manage this absurd house." The legal proceedings against Victoria moved forward slowly, but steadily. She'd initially tried to fight the charges, claiming the theft was a misunderstanding, but the video evidence was irrefutable. Eventually, her lawyers convinced her to accept a plea deal: restitution, community service, and probation in exchange for no jail time. Marcus attended one court hearing and then refused to go to any others. "She's not worth my time," he told Elena. "I'm focusing on moving forward, not dwelling on what I've lost." What he was moving forward to, however, remained unclear. He threw himself into work, spending long hours at his company, but coming home earlier than he used to. He started having dinner with his mother regularly. He built a small wooden toy chest for Sophia, then a dollhouse, then a play kitchen. His workshop became a refuge where he could work with his hands and think. Elena often found him there in the evenings, sawdust in his hair, focused intently on whatever project had captured his attention. Sometimes she'd bring him coffee. Sometimes they'd talk. Sometimes they'd just exist in comfortable silence. It was during one of these quiet evenings, about 6 weeks after the canceled engagement party, that Marcus asked the question that would change everything. "Elena, can I ask you something personal?" Elena, who'd been watching him sand a wooden puzzle box for Sophia, looked up. "Of course. Do you ever think about the future? Not tomorrow or next week, but really long term?" Marcus set down the sandpaper, his expression serious. "What do you want your life to look like in 5 years, 10 years? Elena considered this. "Honestly, I've spent so long just trying to survive day to day that I haven't let myself think that far ahead. It feels like tempting fate. What if you let yourself think about it now?" Marcus pressed gently. "What would you want?" "I want Sophia to be safe, happy, well-educated." Elena smiled. "I want her to grow up knowing she's loved and valued. I want her to have opportunities one never had." "What about you? What do you want for yourself?" No one had ever asked Elena that question. Not her parents, who'd been disappointed when she'd gotten pregnant so young. Not her ex-husband, who'd only cared about what she could do for him. Not even her brother, who loved her but was focused on keeping her safe. "I don't know," she admitted quietly. "I gave up thinking about myself a long time ago." Marcus moved closer, his eyes intense in the workshop's warm light. "Then start now. If you could have anything, any job, any life, any future, what would it be?" Elena felt tears prickling her eyes. "I'd want to feel like I matter. Like I'm more than just someone who survived. I'd want to use my experiences to help other women who are where I was, scared, alone, trapped." She laughed shakily. "I used to want to be a teacher. Maybe I still could be, in some way." "You could," Marcus said. "You absolutely could." He hesitated, then continued. "I've been thinking a lot lately about purpose. About what I'm doing with my wealth and position. I make money, yes, but what am I actually contributing to the world? You employ hundreds of people. That's not enough." Marcus ran his hand through his hair, a gesture Elena had come to recognize as a sign of deep thought. "Elena, what would you say if I told you I wanted to start a foundation? Something focused on helping survivors of domestic violence, providing housing, legal support, job training, education assistance." Elena's heart skipped. "I'd say that sounds incredible. And what if I told you I wanted you to help run it?" Marcus watched her face carefully. "Not as a figurehead or token survivor, but as a real partner in the work. You know what these women need, because you've been there. You understand the challenges, the fears, the barriers." "Marcus, I don't have any experience running a foundation. I don't have a degree in social work or nonprofit management or—" "You have something better. You have lived experience and genuine compassion. And we'd hire people with those other qualifications to work with you." Marcus leaned forward. I'm not asking you to do this alone. I'm asking if you'd be willing to be part of something bigger. To help other women the way you wish someone had helped you. Elena couldn't speak. The possibility he was offering was so far beyond anything she'd imagined that she couldn't quite process it. Think about it, Marcus said gently. There's no rush. But Elena, you're extraordinary. You deserve to be more than just the help. Elena supplied with a watery smile. I was going to say more than just surviving, Marcus corrected. You deserve to thrive. You and Sophia both. Before Elena could respond, Sophia's voice rang out across the grounds. Mommy, Mrs. Ashworth says dinner is ready. They walked back to the main house together, Marcus carrying his tools and Elena carrying the weight of possibility. At dinner, she watched Sophia chatter with Mrs. Ashworth about her day, watched Marcus smile at some story about the piano lesson, watched the easy warmth between all of them. This felt like family, like home. Later that night, after Sophia was asleep, Elena sat at the small desk in their cottage and did something she hadn't done in years. She wrote down her dreams. I want Sophia to grow up safe and loved. I want to help other women escape abuse. I want to stop running and start building. I want to matter. And underneath, in smaller letters, I want to deserve the life I'm being offered. She stared at that last line for a long time before slowly crossing it out and replacing it with, I already deserve good things. I just need to believe it. The next morning, Elena found Marcus in his office. He looked up when she entered, hope flickering in his eyes. I want to do it, Elena said without preamble. The foundation. I want to help. Marcus's face transformed with a genuine smile. Yeah. But I need some conditions. Elena stood straighter. I want to go back to school. Finish my degree, maybe get a master's in social work. I'll work on the foundation, but I also want credentials, knowledge. I don't want to just be the face of survival. I want to be truly equipped to help.
Done.
The foundation will pay for your education. Marcus stood, moving around his desk. What else? I want Sophia to have a say in big decisions. This affects her life too. If this foundation takes off, I'll be busier, more public. She needs to be okay with that. Agreed. Anything else? Elena took a deep breath. I want this to be a real partnership. Not charity, not pity. I'll work hard. I'll learn what I need to learn, and I'll earn my place. But I also need to know that you see me as an equal in this, not as the maid you're helping out of guilt. Marcus was quiet for a moment. Then he extended his hand. Partners. Equal say, equal commitment, equal respect. Elena took his hand, feeling the firm grip, the calluses, the warmth. Partners. They shook on it, and Elena felt something shift inside her. She wasn't just a survivor anymore. She wasn't just a mother protecting her child. She was becoming something new, someone who could help others, who could make a difference, who could thrive. Thank you, she said quietly, for seeing something in me I couldn't see in myself. Thank you, Marcus replied, for showing me what real courage looks like. As Elena left his office to begin researching education programs and foundation structures, she passed Mrs. Ashworth in the hallway. The older woman was smiling. I heard you say yes, Mrs. Ashworth said. You were eavesdropping? Shamelessly. Mrs. Ashworth's eyes twinkled. I'm glad you're staying, Elena. This family needs you. I think we need each other, Elena said. Even better, Mrs. Ashworth agreed. 15 months later, Elena stood at a podium in front of 200 people, her hands shaking slightly despite the practiced calm on her face. The Ashworth Foundation's first official event was being held in the mansion's ballroom, the same space where, just over a year ago, she'd been celebrated for simply telling the truth. Now she was here for something bigger. My name is Elena Martinez, she began, her voice steady despite her nerves. 15 months ago, I was a domestic abuse survivor working as a maid, terrified every day that my past would catch up with me and destroy the safe life I'd tried to build for my daughter. She paused, finding Sophia in the front row. Her daughter, now 4.5, sat next to Mrs. Ashworth, wearing a pretty dress and holding Mr. Teddy. Beside them sat Marcus, whose steady presence had become Elena's anchor. I was accused of a crime I didn't commit. I faced losing everything: my job, my home, my reputation, my ability to provide for my child. But a 3-year-old's toy bear and the courage to speak truth gave me a second chance. Elena clicked to the next slide, showing the foundation's logo, a small teddy bear holding a heart. Sophia had helped design it. The Ashworth Foundation exists because of that second chance. We provide emergency housing for domestic violence survivors and their children. We offer legal support, job training, educational assistance, and counseling. We help women and men who are where I was, desperate, scared, but hoping for something better. The statistics on the screen behind her were sobering. The need was overwhelming. But Elena had learned that you couldn't help everyone. You could only help the next person in front of you. In our first year of operation, we've helped 73 families escape abusive situations. We've provided housing for 6 months on average, helped 42 people find employment, and enrolled 17 in educational programs. Elena's voice grew stronger. But numbers don't capture the real impact. Numbers can't show you 4-year-old Emma, who hadn't smiled in months, laughing at a therapy dog. They can't show you Marcus, the dad, not our founder, who got his GED at 38 and is now in community college studying accounting. They can't show you Sarah, who came to us with 2 black eyes and left 6 months later to start her own business. She clicked to photos, faces blurred for privacy, but emotions crystal clear. Hope, relief, new beginnings. None of this would exist without the generosity of our donors, the dedication of our staff, and the vision of our founder, Marcus Ashworth, who believed that wealth means nothing if it doesn't serve a purpose. Elena looked directly at Marcus, who was watching her with pride evident in his eyes. But more than that, it wouldn't exist without the survivors who trusted us with their stories, their fears, their futures. The presentation continued with testimonials, funding requests, and future plans. Elena had given this pitch 100 times in smaller settings, but never to a crowd this large, this influential. Marcus had invited business leaders, philanthropists, and media to witness the foundation's first year and hopefully contribute to its second. When she finished, the applause was thunderous. People stood. Elena saw tears on several faces. And Sophia, her beautiful, brave daughter, was clapping hardest of all. The rest of the evening was a blur of handshakes, business cards, and passionate conversations about funding and expansion. Elena, who'd grown more confident over the past year but still occasionally felt like an imposter, was amazed at how naturally she spoke about the work, how easily she connected with potential donors. This was what she'd been meant to do. Late in the evening, as the crowd thinned and Sophia dozed in a quiet corner, Elena found herself on the familiar terrace where she and Marcus had talked the night of the first party. He joined her there, 2 glasses of champagne in hand. "You were incredible tonight," Marcus said, handing her a glass. "I was terrified," Elena admitted. "But I kept thinking about all the women who need what we're offering. That made it easier." "You've changed so much in a year," Marcus observed. "More confident, more self-assured." "I finished my bachelor's degree," Elena said. "Started my master's program. Helped launch a foundation. Raised my daughter." She smiled. "It's been a busy year. The best kind of busy." Marcus looked out at the grounds, where lights twinkled in the darkness. "My mother says you've transformed this house." "She's exaggerating." "She never exaggerates." Marcus turned to face Elena. "She means you've made it feel like a home instead of just an expensive building. You and Sophia, you've brought life here." Elena felt her heart rate pick up. Over the past year, her relationship with Marcus had remained professional, respectful, warm. But sometimes, in moments like these, she felt something more simmering beneath the surface. Something neither of them had acknowledged. "Marcus," she began. "I know," he interrupted gently. "It's too soon. You're still healing. We're business partners. Sophia needs stability. There are 100 good reasons why this is complicated." "But," Elena prompted, her breath catching. "But I can't help how I feel." Marcus set down his champagne glass, his expression vulnerable in a way she'd rarely seen. "Elena, you're the strongest, most compassionate, most genuine person I've ever met. You make me want to be better. You make me believe in things I'd stopped believing in: integrity, purpose, real connection." "I'm your employee," Elena said, even as her heart raced. "I'm a survivor with baggage and trauma and a daughter who is to come first, and—" "I know all of that," Marcus said. "And I'm not asking for anything you're not ready to give. I just wanted you to know. You deserve to know that you're seen. Not as the help, not as the survivor, not as the foundation director. As Elena. As someone extraordinary who deserves to be cherished." Elena felt tears streaming down her face. "You don't know everything about me. The nightmares, the panic attacks, the way I still flinch sometimes at sudden movements. The damage." "You're not damaged," Marcus said fiercely. "You're healing. There's a difference. And whatever time you need, whatever healing looks like for you, I'll wait. Or I won't, if waiting makes you uncomfortable. But I needed you to know that when I look at you, I see someone worth every bit of patience in the world." Before Elena could respond, a small voice piped up behind them. "Are you going to kiss Mommy?" They both turned to find Sophia standing in the doorway, Mr. Teddy under her arm, looking at them with interest. "Sophia," Elena said, flustered. "You should be sleeping. I woke up, and you were gone." Sophia padded over to them, her bare feet silent on the stone. "Are you and Mr. Marcus going to be boyfriend and girlfriend?" We're not, Elena stammered. "Would that be okay with you if we were?" Marcus asked Sophia seriously, getting down to her level. "Your mom and I being more than friends?" Sophia considered this gravely. "Would you still build me things?" "Absolutely. And play Princess Tea Party? Even though I'm terrible at it, yes." "And be nice to Mommy? Not like my other daddy?" The question hung in the air. Marcus's expression grew even more serious. "Sophia, I promise you, I will always treat your mother with respect and kindness. Always. And if I ever don't, you should tell Mrs. Ashworth and she'll sort me out. Deal?" Sophia nodded, satisfied. Then she looked at her mother. "I think it's okay, Mommy. Mr. Marcus is nice. And he makes you smile." Elena pulled her daughter into a hug, overwhelmed by emotion. "Baby, these things are complicated. Adult relationships are." "I know," Sophia said with the wisdom of a child who'd seen too much. "But you're happy here. We're safe. And Mr. Marcus likes us for real, not pretend like the pretty lady." Out of the mouths of babes. Elena looked at Marcus over Sophia's head. He was watching them with such tenderness that it made her heart ache. "I'm not ready for anything serious," Elena said finally. "I have too much healing left to do. Too much work to focus on. Sophia needs stability." "I understand," Marcus said. "But," Elena continued, "maybe we could start with something simple. Coffee sometimes. Conversations that aren't about the foundation. Getting to know each other as more than just colleagues." "I'd like that," Marcus said softly. "And you need to understand, Sophia and I come as a package. If this goes anywhere, you're signing up for princess tea parties and bedtime stories and a daughter who will definitely record you with her toys." Sophia giggled. "Mr. Teddy is retired now. But I have a bunny camera too." "Of course you do," Marcus said, laughing. "Elena, I understand. Partners first, friends second, and maybe, if we're very lucky and very patient, something more eventually. No pressure, no expectations. No promises either," Elena warned. "I won't risk Sophia's heart or mine on something uncertain." "Fair enough." Marcus stood, offering his hand to help her up. "How about we start with coffee tomorrow morning? I make terrible coffee, but I'm told my conversation is acceptable." "Your coffee is awful," Elena agreed, smiling. "But I'll bring the good stuff." As they walked back inside, Sophia between them holding both their hands, Elena felt something unfamiliar. Not just hope, but possibility. The future she'd never let herself imagine was starting to take shape. 3 months later, on a sunny Saturday afternoon, Elena sat on a blanket in the mansion's garden watching Sophia play with Mrs. Ashworth's new puppy, a rescue dog the older woman had adopted, to keep the house lively. Marcus appeared with a picnic basket, looking sheepish. I attempted to make sandwiches. It went poorly. So I ordered from that deli you like. Wise choice, Elena said, laughing as he unpacked store-bought food with an embarrassed grin. They'd been doing this, casual time together, for months now. Nothing official, nothing rushed. Just coffee dates, family dinners, quiet conversations. Slowly, carefully, building something real. I got an email today, Elena said as they ate. From a woman in California. She read about the foundation and wants to open a similar one in her state. She's a survivor too. That's amazing, Marcus said. The work is spreading. It's bigger than us now, Elena marveled. When we started, I thought we'd help a few people. Now there are other foundations using our model, other survivors finding their voices. Sophia's teddy bear started something. You started something, Marcus corrected. Your courage, your willingness to fight for truth. That's what changed everything. Elena looked at him, this man who'd been a stranger, then an employer, then a friend, and now something she didn't quite have words for yet. Something that felt like it could be love, given time. Thank you, she said quietly, for believing in me when I didn't believe in myself. Thank you, Marcus replied, for teaching me what really matters. Sophia ran over, the puppy yapping at her heels. Mommy, Mrs. Ashworth says I can help her make cookies. Can I? Of course, baby. Elena kissed her daughter's forehead. Be good. As Sophia ran off, Mr. Teddy forgotten on the blanket, Elena picked up the bear. Its camera had been removed long ago, but she'd kept it as a reminder. This small toy had saved them, had exposed truth, protected innocence, and changed their lives. I should donate this to the foundation, she mused. Put it in the lobby with a plaque explaining its story. I think that's perfect, Marcus said. A reminder that courage comes in unexpected forms. That truth always finds a way. That small acts can have enormous consequences. That 3-year-olds are sometimes the wisest people in the room, Elena added with a smile. Definitely that. They sat in comfortable silence, watching Sophia play, the puppy bark, the sun filter through the trees. 1 year ago, Elena had been accused, afraid, ready to lose everything. Now she was educated, employed in meaningful work, safe, healing, and surrounded by people who valued her. She was home, not because of a place or a house or even financial security, though those helped. She was home because she'd found people who saw her, truly saw her, and chose to stand with her. Because she'd found her purpose. Because she'd learned to believe she deserved good things. What are you thinking about? Marcus asked, noticing her expression. Happy endings, Elena said. How they're not really endings at all. Just new beginnings. Is this a happy beginning? Marcus asked carefully. Elena looked at him, at his hopeful eyes, his gentle smile, his patient presence. She thought about the past year, the growth, the healing. She thought about Sophia's laughter and Mrs. Ashworth's warmth and the 73 families they'd helped. She thought about the woman she'd been, terrified and running, and the woman she was becoming, strong and purposeful. Yes, she said finally. I think it is. And as Marcus took her hand, as Sophia's laughter rang across the garden, as the sun warmed the blanket beneath them, Elena Martinez, survivor, mother, advocate, and maybe, someday, something more, let herself believe in happy beginnings. After all, she'd earned them. 2 years later, the Ashworth Foundation had expanded to 3 cities and helped over 200 families. Elena, now with her master's degree in social work, served as executive director while completing her doctorate. Sophia, at 6, was a confident, joyful child who volunteered at the Foundation's children's programs, reading to younger kids and sharing Mr. Teddy's story. Marcus and Elena had taken things slowly, but somewhere along the way, friendship had deepened into love. On Sophia's 6th birthday, Marcus asked both of them a question. Would they like to be a family, officially? Sophia's answer was immediate. Yes. Can I be the flower girl? Elena's took longer. Not because she doubted, but because she wanted to savor the moment. The knowledge that she'd come so far, survived so much, and found not just safety, but genuine love. Yes, she finally said. 1,000 times yes. Mrs. Ashworth cried at the wedding, small, intimate, filled with staff members and foundation clients and people who'd become family. Sophia was indeed the flower girl, scattering petals with Mr. Teddy tucked under her arm. And when Elena and Marcus exchanged vows, promising honesty, partnership, and unwavering respect, everyone in attendance knew these weren't just words. They were the foundation of something real, something earned, something worth celebrating. Because the best love stories aren't about princes and castles. They're about courage and truth, about teddy bears and hidden cameras, about seeing someone's worth when they can't see it themselves, about second chances and new beginnings, about a maid who refused to be broken, a daughter who spoke truth, and a man who learned that the most valuable things in life can't be bought. They can only be earned through integrity, patience, and love.